it going? I've got Wrigley here. Yeah, this is a good girl. We are going to show you guys how to teach eye contact on cue today. So this is a behavior that I surprisingly haven't made a video about yet, and it is one that Wrigley offers very readily. As you can see right here, she's ready to go. So this is a behavior, you guys, that I'm going to teach on cue, but it is something that I also choose to capture. So capturing eye contact, I could click and treat Wrigley right now for just choosing to offer me eye contact without me actually asking for it. This is something that I did for probably the first 3 months of her actually living with me. She learned her name and she learned how to offer eye contact just on her own without me cueing it at all. So you guys can't see her eyes right now from this perspective, but I am literally just clicking and treating her for staring daggers into my head. Wrigley helps me out in my group classes, and this is a behavior that I really strongly value with her. I need her to be able to focus on me and not what is going on around me. So eye contact, literally kind of the most rewardable behavior in my opinion. When she's looking at me like this, she can't be off wandering around, getting into trouble, bothering the other dogs in class, bothering people in the class, barking, doing anything else that I would prefer her not to be doing in a group class setting. So eye contact is something that we worked a lot on when I first brought her home, so she is very good at this point. So the first kind of introduction to this video, and she's thrown other behaviors at me too. The first part of this video is going to be talking about your dog actually just offering eye contact. So let me kind of spin around right here so I can kind of have you guys see Wrigley as well. So right here, she's actually just looking me in the eyes, and I appreciate that behavior. So I'm choosing to click and treat for that. Every single time now with Wrigley, I'm going for a longer duration of her actually holding that eye contact for. Initially, what we could do is just click and treat your dogs just for choosing to offer that. So what I would do with this is take a treat, you can put it on the ground, let your dog eat it, and then as soon as they look up, you click and take the next treat and drop it on the ground again to reset them. Good girl. Let me move this a little bit out of the way. So this is a good method of kind of capturing eye contact, and one good way to teach it. There's a lot of different ways that you can teach eye contact. This is one where it's very easy to capture because your dog is going to look up at you for that next click and that next treat. Good girl. Well done. Good. Good job. Alright, so a common thing that I see is whenever we have our hands at kind of home base is what I call it. So when I'm standing with my hands right at my center like this, is the dog actually focusing on your hands too much. We've kind of taught our dogs, good girl, we've taught our dogs that when we put our hands in front of them and we move our hands and we do things with our hands, we actually want them to pay attention to our hands and follow our hands. So that is something when you kind of have your hands at home base right here, that if your dog is looking too much at your hands, I would actually recommend placing both hands behind your back. So when you're doing this, place the treat on the ground and then remove both hands. Good girl. Very nice. Good job. So it just kind of removes the opportunity for your dog looking straight up right at your hands, which can be a very exciting thing. We really want to teach them to look all the way up at your face. Now, if you have a smaller dog, I actually recommend sitting on a platform like this, or it can be a chair, it doesn't have to be a platform. So you're actually like a lot lower to the ground with your dog, so your small dog doesn't have to crane their neck looking all the way up at you. You can play the exact same game sitting down in this chair. Now, this is where your hands at home base are going to be much more enticing to look at. So I'd really strongly recommend hands behind your back, wait for that eye contact to be on you, and then click. Nice job. Okay, just like that. So drop the treat. Very good. Good. So right now I'm choosing to click the moment that Wrigley looks up at me and makes eye contact. As your dog gets better with this one, you can actually wait for another second or two before actually clicking and treating for that. So adding on a little bit of duration to that behavior. Very nice. Okay, So that is step one. Good job, all done. So that is kind of the first way that you might choose to capture eye contact. You also don't have to initially put the treat on the ground. Like I said, I could just click and treat Wrigley for her standing right here and offering me that eye contact. But if you want to get that a little bit faster, playing that treat on the ground game and having your dog look up at you and then click and treat, very nice. That is a way that you can capture that behavior. So that's kind of way number one. Now I'm going to show you another way that I like to teach this as well. Good girl. As Wrigley's staring daggers in my head because she's realizing what I'm clicking and treating for. Yeah, good job. Okay. So you guys, the second way that we can teach eye contact is a bit more of a prompting way. So what I would do with this one is, let's see if I can get Wrigley positioned over here. I'm actually going to take a treat and hold it about a foot away from my face, okay? So let me kind of show you this with her positioned over here first. Okay, so what's gonna happen is I'm gonna hold this treat about a foot away from my face. What's going to happen is she's gonna look over at that treat, and what I'm waiting for is for her to actually go from that treat and look at my face. The moment that happens, I'm going to click and give her the treat. So I'll take the treat, hold it about a foot away. Very nice. And it happened very, very quickly. It's a split second of eye contact that we're going for here. Very good. This is where your timing of your click becomes really, really important. Very nice. Good. And this one is actually not the way that I taught Wrigley to offer eye contact on cue, so she's actually thrown other behaviors in there, which is cool too, to really kind of show you guys. So what she's actually doing, okay, is when I hold the treat, let me kind of swap hands so you guys can see a little bit better. When I hold the treat out about a foot away, good, she is kind of very quickly shifting her gaze over to my face and then back to my hand. That is one thing that initially you will get from your dog. Good. And the reason why the timing is really important. So if I were to click about halfway between where my hand is and where my face is, and she looks straight back here, and this is where I click, that is going to communicate the wrong thing to her, right? That is going to communicate, hey, I want you to look past me. So it is extra important with this one that you click the moment your dog actually makes eye contact with your face. That's very nice. So, prompting this behavior by actually putting the treat way the heck out here, good girl, way the heck away from your face, it's super, super obvious whenever your dog looks over from the treat to your face. We kind of want them making the connection on their own. Now, like I said, I didn't teach this way this method to Wrigley in the very beginning when I was teaching her eye contact. So she's throwing other behaviors at me. I don't know if you guys caught it right there, but she's stamping her paw on the ground and she's head nodding at me. She's trying other things. So it's actually extra important that I kind of help show her that, hey, it's actually just your eyes moving. That's what I'm clicking and treating for. So timely clicks. Good. Okay, and with Wrigley, she knows eye contact pretty well. So if your dog is already pretty good at offering eye contact, this is something that I would kind of elevate immediately. Good. So the reason for me having my hand way out here, not right next to my face, is just so that I can actually see when she shifts her gaze. If the treat is right in front of your eyeball, there is no way that you're gonna actually know if your dog is looking at the food or your face. I want her to figure this one out on her own. So I'm really trying to put my hand way out here, and I noticed she did that, way out here so I can tell whenever she shifts her gaze, and I can mark in that moment with my clicker and then reward. So what's going to happen over a period of time that you practice this is your dog is actually going to get faster with this. You're going to place your hand out. That's going to now be the prompt of, hey, I want you to look over at my face. For our dogs, the fastest way to the food is skipping over this piece and see how fast she's kind of doing it now, is skipping over the piece of me holding my hand out with that prompt and just immediately going to look at my face. That prompt is kind of becoming a hand signal, so to speak. So once your dog gets to that point, okay, you're able to hold the treat out, and they're very quickly shifting their gaze over to your face, kind of just like Wrigley's doing right now. She's almost not even looking at my hand prompt anymore, and she's just pretty immediately looking over at my face. Good girl. Once you get to that point, okay, and same thing with that treat on the ground method, as soon as your dog looks up at your eyes, and that's happening relatively quickly, your dog is ready for the verbal cue. So I don't want my clients to have to walk around town like this, right, to prompt their dogs to look at them. It's nice to kind of have it on a hand signal if you want it on a hand signal. I tend to prefer this behavior on a verbal cue though, because most of the time when I'm going to use it out in public, it's when my dog is not actually looking at me, and I want to prompt her to look. So having this not on a hand signal where she can't actually see me holding up that hand signal, and more so on a verbal cue, can be really, really helpful. So with this first method, okay, of placing the treat on the ground in front of your dog and then looking up, good girl, where you're going to add the word is right before your dog is about to look up. So on this next repetition, look, good girl, look, very nice. Okay, so what I'm doing there is I'm just inputting the word exactly the moment before she's about to look up at me. I use the cue look for Wrigley. Watch me is also a very common one, but essentially something distinct that your dog has no prior associations with that is going to make for a good cue. And she is staring daggers into my head. That's real good, lady. Okay, so again, if you have smaller dogs, you can do this sitting down as well. Look. Look. Very good. Look. Look. Nice job. Okay, so just like that. So eventually, I'd say like 3 to 4 training sessions, practice with adding the word into it, and then you can start to kind of test your word. When your dog is not actually looking at you, try cueing look. Good. See if they actually respond. So you're kind of testing the cue in that moment. Whenever your dog is not looking at you, prompting them or cueing them and testing that look word. So with the other method, okay, what you're gonna do about that one is right before you're about to hold this prompt up, good girl, right before you're about to hold the prompt up, you're going to hold your hands kind of at that home base, look at your dog, say look, then hold your hand out, click and treat when your dog looks at you. Look. Very nice. Okay. And this one, Wrigley already, and like I said, Wrigley already knows look on cue, so this is actually kind of confusing to her. So I might say, watch me. Very good. Watch me. Watch me. Good girl. Nice job. Okay, so adding the cue in, looking at your dog, saying the word to them right before you're about to follow it up with that prompt that we have taught them at that point is how you're going to go about introducing that new cue. Okay, that new word comes first, then the behavior, in essence, the prompt, the hand signal, all the things that we've kind of worked up into teaching them exactly what that means. and then your dog does the behavior after that. So adding new cues, you want to say the word first, in essence. A note about having this hand prompt, we want to try to fade that out as quickly as possible whenever we're working with that as a cue. Standing up and holding your hand out here for a lot of dogs can be a really frustrating thing. So we want to get it on a verbal cue as quickly as possible so we can fade out this piece of it. So as you start to test your cue a little bit, if I were to say, watch me, and my dog is not looking at me, give them 2 to 3 seconds to think about it, then go ahead and hold up the prompt that they know. Over a period of time of doing that, they're going to start to really associate that watch me cue or whatever cue you're using with, it's always followed by that hand prompt. Okay, so that must be the behavior that my owner wants me to do. So over a period of time, you can start to minimize this action. So I might throw it up here right now, which is what we've initially been doing. And then the next time I might keep it a little bit lower, and then a little bit lower, and then a little bit lower. You're a good girl. Okay, until it's essentially back at home base and I'm just saying, watch me, and my dog is looking up at me. Hopefully that makes sense, but fading out that hand prompt for some dogs is a little bit necessary. For other dogs, they're going to pick up right away whenever you say, look, good girl. They will not need that follow-up hand prompt, but it's about 50-50. So if your dog really needs you to phase it out, that's how I would do it. Every consecutive repetition, just make the action smaller and smaller and smaller until it's back at center. So that is kind of the basics of teaching eye contact on cue. So just to kind of recap, you can click and treat your dog just for choosing to offer eye contact. This is a method called capturing. This is a lot of what Wrigley and I did for the first little while. Okay, that second method, and you can literally go around your house doing this. Okay, and that second method of just putting the treat on the ground right in front of your dog and clicking and treating whenever they lift their head up and look at you. That is another way that you can teach it, okay? And then that third way is going to be holding that prompt out here and teaching your dog to look over to your face to earn that click and that treat. So, what do you think? I hope that was helpful for you guys. Eye contact is a pretty easy behavior as soon as your dog figures it out. Wrigley knows this behavior very well. Like I said, this is the very first behavior that she learned whenever she was with me. It's not anything else that she's doing. It's just her eyes. So I hope this was helpful for you guys, teaching your dog to offer eye contact on cue. Wrigley's super cute, and she kind of offers a little head tilt in with her eye contact, which makes it just really, really adorable. So I hope you guys have fun with this one. Let me know if you have questions. Eye contact can be a little bit of a tricky one for young dogs to not get too frustrated about and actually kind of grasp onto the concept. What do you think? Should we say happy training? Yeah. So you guys have fun with this one, and drop any questions that you guys have in the comments below. Happy training!